How much fast should we train? Here we are again, and this video reveals many facts about this. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you're interested in physical therapy and fitness topic. Muscle contraction is one of the main components of training, which divides into 5 main categories: eccentric, concentric, isometric, pseudo-isometric, and isokinetic, but the last 2 types are not in our discussion here. Let's explain the first 3 types briefly. Concentric contraction occurs when the muscle is in its shortening phase, which is called in physics positive work because muscle contraction and displacement are in same directions, whereas eccentric contraction occurs when the muscle is in its lengthening phase, which is called in physics negative work because direction of muscle contraction and displacement are in opposite sides. And the last one, isometric contraction, is a fixed length contraction without any actual displacement. In other words, the muscle holds the position actively without changing the position. I will clear it with a simple example. In biceps curl, flexing the elbow, which shortens the muscle, is the concentric phase. Holding it in one position without changing the length is isometric contraction. And finally, releasing it to allow the elbow slowly extend is the eccentric phase. Maximal force output among these types of contraction belongs to eccentric. And can you guess why? Because in addition to muscle fibers, passive elements which cannot assist to shorten the muscle length, like the tendons and fibers sheath, which is called sarcolemma, come to assist in this phase of movement. So now you can understand why it is being said that training the muscle in its lengthening position works more. This theory is getting so popular that we have faced a term called stretch-mediated hypertrophy, which means just by doing static stretch and not even loading the muscle, we will experience small amount of muscle growth. Now, let's get back to our example. For the biceps muscle, this is the lengthened position, and this is the mid position or neutral, and this is the shortened position of this muscle. As I mentioned, training the muscle in partial range of motion when the muscle is in lengthened position has at least equal and in many studies more hypertrophy potential than training the muscle in full range of motion. But here, there are 2 important points. First, the participants of most of these studies which confirm this hypothesis were untrained subjects, and these results for trained subjects may be different. Second one is that the goal of training is not just hypertrophy. You need joint lubrication, increasing tendons and capsules, stiffness, strength and flexibility, and many other benefits which are not achieved just by doing partial range training. Especially the flexibility of contractile and non-contractile elements, which usually improves by static stretch, but can also be achieved by doing full range movements if you have not enough time for a full training program. In order to get benefits from both partial range and full range training, I usually suggest my clients to do at least half of their sets in full range of motion and the other half in lengthened position. Rest between sets is also a common and important factor that we will talk about it here briefly. First, you should know that interset time refers to the time between 2 different movements, and intraset time refers to the time between 2 sets of a single movement. Intraset resting time should be 1 to 2 minutes when reaching failure, as I talked about it thoroughly in my last video. But interset resting time should be 3 to 4 minutes to gain maximal muscle growth according to this diagram. And finally, the velocity of contraction, or the more familiar name, the tempo and timing of the movement, can also affect the result. As you can see here, in the eccentric phase, force output increases proportionally with the velocity of contraction. However, in the concentric phase, vice versa happens. That means increasing the velocity of contraction decreases the force output. But force itself is not what exactly we are looking for. And by considering the possible superiority of eccentric phase over concentric, we should dedicate more of tempo's time to it. In our example, positive work phase can take 2 seconds and the negative work phase can take up to 4 seconds. But how much slow should we do this? Simply, you should do it slow, but the reason of it matters and should be the difficulty of movement, not by your own intention. In other words, the heaviness of the weight should oblige you to perform the movement slowly, not by deliberately making it as slow as possible.